Hey everybody, it's Jason from the Texas Gun Vault 2, and I'm coming to you today in my little garage talk video. I'm actually getting ready to go to the range later this afternoon. I'm taking two 308 chambered rifles to the longer range at the Frisco Gun Club. I'm taking the LMT reference rifle that was the civilian version of the sniper rifle that's being used by the United Kingdom. I can't remember the exact model number. You guys know the one I'm talking about, the sharpshooter rifle or whatever. And then I'm taking a B&T APC 308. And both of these awesome and amazing firearms are on loan to the channel from my good friend D. And today is the day that I'm going to go to the longer range. So I'm out here getting my bags ready, getting ready to pack up the camera. But I think today I want to talk about something that, I don't know, I think it's important to keep in perspective that the people that we sometimes attribute to being malicious are really not. And so maybe this is a little bit of a behind the scenes thing, because I'm not going to be talking about guns necessarily, but maybe a little bit of background on me and a little story on what I do and the interactions I have with the people, and then discovering something interesting about them. Some of you may know that I am a professional musician. That is what I do, professional musician and teacher. And so my day job essentially is working with school-age children between middle school and high school. I used to teach college because I have my doctorate in music. I used to be a college professor. I didn't enjoy that. And I found my calling in teaching middle school and high school students. And I still perform professionally, professional trombonist. That's what I do. You guys have seen some of my trombone videos and things. And throughout my years, I've gotten to know some amazing families, because in the position that I'm in, some of the students will study with me for 7 years. They'll have me as a teacher longer than they will have any other teacher that they will encounter throughout their schooling. They might have a band director that they'll see for 3 years in middle school, and then a band director or two that they'll see in high school for 4. And often, because I teach the feeder schools and the high school, I get them for 7. And I develop great relationships with the parents because I'm always in communication with them. And often, like it is now, over the summer, I have an opportunity to go to the houses and teach. And so I get to meet the parents, which is awesome, because I love it when they observe the lessons. Because when I'm teaching, I always tell the parents that they're my eyes and ears when I'm not there. So they hear my instructions and how I teach and what I'm looking for. And so since they observe the lesson, when I'm not there, they can keep tabs on their kids and be like, oh, you got to do this or not, or do that. Don't do that. He was telling you, whatever the instruction was. And then I also get to meet and interact with these families, because I get to know them personally, their family structure, their situations, what they do for a living. And I really have developed some good friendships over the years, because I've been doing this for a while. And I've met some just awesome families. And throughout my travels, throughout what I do, I've had clients that have had really unique jobs. And I'll share a couple of those with you before telling you what the whole point of this video is. So in a district that I used to teach in, there was a student that I had. His name was Matthew. And his dad, I knew, was in the Navy. I mean, they were Navy everything. And in fact, I knew from just talking to my student that his dad was a former commander in the Navy, which is a pretty high officer position, which is, I guess, pretty cool, And I go over to their house to work with him. And all over the walls, there's all these awards and plaques from NCIS. You guys have probably seen the show about NCIS, the Naval Criminal Investigative Service. Anyway, so they had all these plaques all over the place about years of dedication, stuff from SEAL Team 6 and blah, blah, blah. And so I talked to the dad. I'm like, hey, I see all these awards for NCIS. And this is during the time when NCIS, the show, was huge and popular. And I said, were you part of that? Because I know you were in the Navy. And he goes, oh, yeah, I was the commander in charge of the San Diego division. So that's pretty cool if you think about it. I mean, what the show kind of depicts, obviously a lot of that is just fictional. But he was the guy in charge. Essentially, he was the military version of Mark Harmon's character. And he was in charge of the San Diego branch of NCIS for years. And I talked to him many times about various stories. I mean, that was pretty cool, you know. Somebody else, a student I had, his name was Preston, and this is in a different district. I got to meet his dad, and it turned out that his father worked for the Secret Service and was a firearms instructor with the Secret Service, which is pretty cool. You know, me being a firearms guy, I mean, I kind of wanted to, you know, pick his brain and find out, you know, like, what do you guys do? What do you carry? What's really like? Because he's retired now, and I think he works security for some big names in the civilian world. But he was in the Secret Service, and he was part of the presidential detail of retired presidents, or former presidents, essentially. So whenever presidents would go to their homes, wherever they are around the country, he would be either in charge or part of that detail. And he got to know the presidents personally. I mean, he has photos of him with the presidents, like George H.W. Bush, Barack Obama, this and that. And I got to sit down and talk with him, like, what was it like working for, you know, Obama? What was it like working for H.W. Bush? Did you meet this person, you know? And the things that he told me were really interesting about how, you know, despite maybe being a little different politically than Barack Obama, he said that Obama was actually a really nice guy and treated the Secret Service with a lot of respect. Was a down-to-earth guy. And he said the same thing about George H.W. Bush, and I mean, his whole family would, you know, go to that, I guess, to his estate, and just got to meet the family, just hang out with the presidents. And then we talked, you know, firearms, like, what'd you guys carry? How did the training go? It was awesome. I mean, it's just great to just hear these stories, you know. It's I don't know, it's just amazing the people that are around us that we don't appreciate what they've done in their life, or we don't know. And when you find out, you're like, that's pretty darn cool. I mean, he hung out with presidents for a lot of his career and just knew them personally. And, you know, and I'm talking to him now and, you know, teaching his son. Another parent of a student I currently have is I guess now a former assistant superintendent for a very, very large district. So I've met a lot of influential people. I've gotten to know them and just go, well, these are just regular people like you or I, you know? Well, anyway, to get to the point of my story today. And I think it's an important story for a lot of gun owners because, as I mentioned in my videos, we need to, as a community, really focus our energies where they need to be. Because if we have a shotgun approach at being upset and angry, it diffuses the focus and it distracts from what we should really be doing. So I was at a student's house yesterday, and it's a student that I've been working with now for a couple of years, gotten to know him. Cool kid. He works really hard for me. He's actually like a big wrestling fan. So every time he comes in, I'll ask him about wrestling, like, you know, what's going on. He likes the WWE. And I'll just kind of joke with him about it being fake and all that kind of stuff before we start and whatever. But he loves all that stuff. And I've gone to his parents' house, and his parents are there, and got to talk to them. We've talked about, you know, food, and they just bought a new car for their daughter. We talked about how my son recently got into an accident in his car and totaled it. You know, just kind of just basic conversation stuff, and talked about dogs because you guys know I have Olive, and they have a couple of little dogs that one's shy, one likes to jump on you. We just talk about just dog owner stuff, you know. It's just funny stuff. They have a beautiful house and a beautiful pool. And I ask them, you know, you guys enjoying the summertime? It's hot outside. Just chit chat. And I've talked to them now for multiple weeks. But I was leaving their house a couple days ago, and I noticed on the computer in the office, where sometimes I'll copy music for my student, that there was a computer monitor that had an ATF logo or something on it. And I was like, what? That's kind of weird to have. And so I asked the mom, who happened to be there, I said, do one of you work for the ATF or something? She goes, oh yeah, I'm a special agent with the ATF. And my husband is the assistant director of the Dallas field office of the ATF. Wow. You know, and these are people that are nice. and kind, and I've just had great interactions with, and they didn't know about my firearms channel, and we sat there and talked. I kind of joked with them. I said, "Hey, can you get me my tax stamps quicker?" And she laughed and goes, "No, we don't handle the NFA stuff or whatever. We have no power over that." And we sat and talked about the pistol brace amnesty thing and the force reset triggers for a moment and what they do. And it was a really interesting perspective because she's a field agent, and she, I guess, is one of these people that has to go to people's houses in the past, for when they find out maybe somebody lied on a 4473, or maybe there's some type of warrant, or maybe she's done some of the FRT stuff, and she says she hates it because it's unnecessary, because it puts people at risk. And she also said that she disagreed with all this stuff because it wasn't a problem before. I mean, even the braced pistol, she goes, we don't really care. Like, it's not that big of a deal. And, it was really interesting to get their perspective because they live in the community that they have to, obviously enforce these rules and regulations. I've gotten to know them as a human being, not just this faceless agent of this demonized agency that, there's a lot of problems with. And then her husband, the dad of my student, is the assistant director of the ATF field office. So they're dealing with this stuff all the time and all the hate that they get and this and that. And it really brought home to me the idea that these people are real people like you or I. And after talking to them, they're not really, I would say, gun people like us. Like, they were like, yeah, we have a couple of shotguns, rifles, pistols, but they're not really gun people. But they, and she even told me, she goes, I don't care if you have a huge collection. I don't care at all. We don't care about any of that. She says her main goal, the reason she's there, is to make sure that people that should not have guns don't have guns or go after those gun crimes. And it really seemed from talking to her that, like, her main focus and desire is for, city stuff, like gangs, where these gangs get gun running, that kind of stuff, that kind of investigative things. It was really interesting because, as I said, it humanized it. And to kind of get around to where we're going, or where I'm going with this video, is that often, because of all the hype, all of the exaggerated claims, it's really easy to consider everybody that works for a particular agency or group to be the devil, to be the evil incarnate enemy. And then you realize, as this story happened to me, that, and I already kind of knew this, they're just human beings like you or I, and they're tasked with a job, and sometimes they agree with that job, sometimes they don't. And it's my belief that if what they were asked to do rose to the level of something that they considered unconstitutional, that they would not do it. But you realize that these are good people that are just trying to enforce laws, and that's one thing too that I think gun owners need to, I guess, put in perspective, because every time something bad happens, and the anti-gun left want to pass more gun control laws, people on the right, on our side, say, hey, they need to enforce the laws that are already on the books. We say that. Why pass more laws? We need to enforce the laws that are on the books. And then when the ATF agents go out and enforce the laws that are already on the books, you get mad at them. So it is a little bit hypocritical on our part, our community's part. We want the gun laws enforced, but then when the gun laws are enforced, we get mad, and maybe it shouldn't be that way. And I guess I'm just trying to say is that we have to look at who and focus our energies at what's going to solve the problem for us, what's going to preserve the Second Amendment going forward. The courts are letting us down, and the agents, they have no power over anything. They just enforce the law. That's it. The parents of my student, they don't make the rules. They don't make the regulations. They have nothing to do with any of that. They don't do the legal stuff. That's it. It's just like a cop. A cop gets called to a crime scene, and he has to either do the report, or if he's out on a thing, he's charged with enforcing the law. If he sees somebody running a stop sign, whether or not he thinks the stop sign should be there, he is charged with the duty of enforcing that law. And you can get mad at the cop, but the cop's a human being doing a job that we as a society and a community have hired them to do. And that's what a lot of these ATF agents are as well. And from talking to them, I really got the impression the ATF Pistol Brace thing is not really a big deal to them. It's not really, they're going through the motions of this and that, and they, pass the rule and regulation. And I'm not saying they said they're not doing it. It's just kind of like, oh God, we got to do this. We got to enforce this thing. And it's not like they're going out in force going, oh, we're going to find, when I talk to them, it's not like they were like, yeah, we're going to get all these, perpetrators. It was just like, oh God, we got to figure this all out and just make sure the rule is being enforced. And it wasn't like they were like trying to like go after and ruin anybody's life. They're just human beings. The people that I think we should be upset with are the people at the top. The people that actually make the rules, the regulations, and run the agency. They're the ones that are dictating to the people at the lower level what to do. So, for example, the director, any assistant directors, the bureaucrats involved, the legal people for the ATF, the people in D.C. probably. I mean, I don't understand why people get mad at the NFA examiners when their stamp doesn't come in for a year. I've had some interactions with some examiners, and they work all day going through boring forms, and there's only like 25 of them, if that. And they have to process millions upon millions upon millions of forms throughout the year. There's only 25 of them. It's not their fault. I mean, we all get frustrated with the NFA stuff and the waits, but in a way, it's not the individual examiner's fault. I mean, I'm sure that when they open their computer and it goes to a form and they have to approve or disapprove and they go through their checklist of this, that, make sure everything's crossed, run the background check, they're probably doing it as fast as they humanly can do it, because they want to get through that, because they're probably looking at their computer, looking at the forms stacking up, or maybe if they're paper forms, they probably got a pile on their desk this high. And they're like, I got to get through this, and maybe they have a quota for how many they have to get through. They want to get through those things as fast as humanly possible. So getting mad at them, they didn't write the law. They don't enforce the law. They just approve or disapprove the form. And they got a stack of forms this high to get through. Don't be mad at them. Be mad at Congress for passing the NFA. Be mad at the ATF for not hiring more examiners and making the system more efficient. That's where we need to focus. Because as we see now, even in a post-Bruin world, and all the states that are trying to pass pro-gun legislation, the courts are working against Bruin. They're working against the Supreme Court. We can't rely on the courts anymore. We have to have elected officials that are going to change the system. We do. Now, I've told you guys, I'm not even registered to vote anymore because I've given up on the system because I don't feel that my voice is represented. And I'm disappointed in the Republicans because they don't stand up for us. They give us lip service. Oh, yeah, I'm the most pro-gun person, blah, 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 blah. And then when they get up there and they're like, okay, it's time to vote on this amendment that's going to be pro-gun. They're like, whoa. Well, we got to think about the kids. We got to think about this or that. Think about how this is going to look. And the optics are going to, let's just not do this vote. Thought you were the most pro-gun person ever. Why don't you sign on to this bill for the Hearing Protection Act to make silencers off the NFA? Why don't you? Well, whatever. They come to you in the election cycle saying one thing, they go to D.C. and do something different. That's the Republicans. We know what the Democrats are going to do. Okay, they just want to strip you of every right that you have when it comes to firearms. So what's the solution? We have to get people in there that are going to change something. And it frustrates me too as well because it's such a polar option when we elect officials. Because usually here in the United States it's Democrat, Republican. And people will look at a Republican candidate, and let's say you're watching this as a channel, most likely you're pro-gun. And you have a candidate in your district that is very pro-gun. I mean, they are saying like we need to change the regulations. We need to maybe impeach the ATF director and put somebody else new in there. We need to hold these unelected bureaucrats to account. And then you go, whoa, hold on a second. He supported Donald Trump. He's MAGA. Well, I'm a never Trumper, so I'm not going to vote for him. Because they're whatever, because they have another issue that you disagree with, you know. And for me, when it comes to candidates, I have a hierarchy of things that are important. Obviously, Second Amendment is very important to me. I would have to say government regulation, taxation is very important to me. But for other people in the conservative movement, pro-life is very important to them, or some other issue. You name it. You guys know what I'm talking about. Maybe it's a social issue, or you're very much against the legalization of marijuana. You know, a lot of people in the country are for the legalization of marijuana and remove it from being a controlled substance. But let's say you have a more libertarian-leaning MAGA Republican, and he's very pro-gun, and he's going to do something. Like everybody knows, he's a firebrand. He or she's a firebrand. But you find out that they're like, you know, they're mostly pro-life, but they're like, okay, in the first month, it's okay. Or they're like, we should legalize pot, but you don't think it should be legalized. And you're like, I'm not voting for that pro-Trump MAGA. They're crazy. And so you either don't vote or you vote for the Democrat. And then you're like, oh no, they're taking away my gun rights. I know it. I know it's a bifurcated choice. I know that. So I don't really have the solution, because often when you do vote for a Republican, they're going to vote against your interests. You vote for a Democrat, they're definitely going to vote against your interests in Congress. Maybe we need to let things just get bad. Just never vote for Republicans that won't do anything. Let the Democrats win. Let them take the country down the worst path possible. And then finally, the people that are lying to you, the Republicans, will finally have no power, and the people that actually will do something will be the ones that are running and can be elected. I don't know. I don't have a solution to this. And as I said in one of my previous videos, I'm not saying you personally, but you as the gun community are the problem. Because I personally know people that when it came to the last election, they did not like Donald Trump. Okay, and I get it. He's not the nicest guy in the world, probably. You know, he's arrogant, he's bombastic, he's braggadocious. I mean, all the words that you could come up with for someone like him, they're there. He says mean things on Twitter, mean things on social media, and people are like, oh, we can't have that type of decorum, and so they voted for Biden. But they're pro-gun, and they're pro just because they hated him. And here we are. I'm not telling you how to vote, what to do, but I think as long as people are going to be so pedantic and petty when it comes to who they vote for because, they said something mean on Twitter. Well, saying something mean on Twitter is very different than actually enacting a policy, rule, law, or regulation that negatively affects millions of people. I will take a mean tweet any day of the week and have low gas prices. I will take a mean tweet and a president that uses, the words like bigly. We're winning bigly. I will take that any day of the week and have him look orange with spray tan any day of the week if it keeps the country safe and I have a better feeling about the future of the Second Amendment. I'll take that any day of the week. I don't care what other countries think. I don't care. But a lot of people, he's just mean. I like everything he does. I mean, the country was awesome when that time was going on, but we can't have that. We gotta have Biden. And if you're one of those people, you get what you vote for. I know. This has been a long video. But just getting back to, I guess, the initial thesis of all this. When you get mad at people and ATF officers and all that kind of stuff, you need to direct your anger at who is really at fault, who you really should be upset about. Because the field agents, the people at the bottom, I know some people say, oh, they're just using the Nazi excuse of they're just following orders. But these aren't people that are out there going, wake up every day and go, man, I can't wait to make a felon out of a otherwise law-abiding citizen. That's not what they're doing. They don't want that. They don't think about that. They really do care about, like, we got to get these illegal machine guns out of the hands of gangs in, downtown Dallas. That's really what they're focused on. Or there's a gun running thing between the cartels and Oklahoma, and there's this pipeline of these people that are trafficking. We gotta shut that down. We got to investigate that. That's like their main thing. And you got to focus your energy and your negativity where it's going to do the most good. But if you have a shotgun approach to everything, it diffuses the focus and is not as effective. It's why in certain applications a shotgun is good, but in some applications you want a rifle because you want that precise hit, center of the target. Where if you shoot a shotgun at 100 yards with birdshot, you might get a little peppering of something on that target, but it's not as effective. And I think you guys understand what I'm trying to say. And I'm just trying to inspire the gun community to be more effective in focusing on the things that we should be focused on. Because the people that you demonize are good people. So there you go. My thoughts on things. And I discovered that one of my clients is an ATF special agent and the assistant director of the ATF branch in Dallas. So what do you guys think? So, I always ask you guys if you've made it to the end of my video, so I know you're a real vault dweller, to say something. So why don't you say agent? Agent. That'd be a great way to know if you watched to the end of this 27-minute video. Wow, I talked for a long time. And I guess, what else do I want to talk about? Anything else? No, I guess I'll save stuff for other videos. So anyway, I hope you enjoyed this session out here in the garage, behind the scenes, me just rambling. What do you guys think? Was it a boring story? Is it interesting? Does it change your perspective? Or did you already have this perspective? And I know some of you guys might go, oh my God, you're working with the enemy. All those, the crazy people out there. But anyway, what do you think? Let me know in the comment section below. So, as always, thanks for watching.